We'll take a few questions now, both papers related to agriculture. I know that Bishop Marcello, you wanted to make a comment, and I'll just note I'm going to step out for a moment, and Margaret Archer, you'll be in Margaret Archer's good hands in the interim.
Okay. Pardon?
No, she's just going to, I'm just going to step out.
No, I'm just caretaking.
No, I want to ask to especially to Cyril, the use of genetic modified organisms, because you don't speak about this, and in all your program. And in the Academy studied many times this question, and our former president say this is a real important thing that can change, also to give alimentation to all people. And you speak about float. The old system, for example, in Argentina, we don't use more this system because we have disorganized modified. So in the contrary, Torero says something, but nothing specific about this. So what is your opinion?
So I see that as rather orthogonal to that. I mean, as said, we are going to support, or we have technology which support breeders, but how you do the breeding is completely orthogonal. So even if you're in traditional breeding setups, you have a lot of varieties of different crops, need to monitor them on a regular basis, see how the performance is to pick the most performing crops or varieties then. And this is completely orthogonal, so we are not explicitly supporting this, we are not explicitly against this. We are right now not doing this because there's none of my colleagues in Bonn who is working on that. But it's the technology which is the monitoring which is completely orthogonal to that. You want to add something to that?
So in terms of GMOs specifically, that's what you are asking. So look, the view there is if the technology is scientifically proven to resolve problems, which could be weather resistance and so on and so forth, and there is no scientific evidence that it could create a negative effect, then it's important to work with the countries to have the regulatory mechanisms in place so that it's properly used in the country. Now, one of the major problems that we have now with this type of technologies is the market concentration. So the suppliers of the technologies are very few companies. And that's an issue that needs to be resolved so that it's accessible. So again, that's what I refer in my presentation as complements. So anything which is scientifically proven to work and could help to minimize potential risks of weather, especially the weather variability problems that we have today, I am in favor of it, but it will have, and this is not FAO, it's Maximo Torero, okay? But we need to be careful to have the complements in place so that it's properly used and minimize potential issues of market power.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else on queuing up to speak? Because I can fill the gap. I've got a question for Maximus, if that's okay. In your last frame of costings, which is very interesting, I always look for the absences, and the thing that was absent was who is going to supply these splendid machines, and what is going to stop them acting as corrupt entrepreneurs and making a huge profit out of providing them?
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was referring with the fact of the complement. So in the simulation I did, we just assume a small machine, which cost $10,000, and the concept was that it could be shared by a group of farmers. So, for example, to have a farmer association group that we will be willing to cost share and to rent this equipment. And that we didn't find to be unreasonable. But that's assuming that you have a competitive market of supplying of those machines, which normally won't be the case, okay? So the problem is how countries can be prepared to minimize those potential issues of market power concentration so that things can be accessible in a competitive way. And that's complex, and that's why I brought the example of Ethiopia. You know, Ethiopia liberalized cellular phones, but there was only one state company which have access to cellular phones. Today, they're going to open for competition, but that's not enough. You need to have regulatory agencies in place to assure that there is real competition, which means in cellular phones, interconnection cost. No? Accessible interconnection cost, interoperability. The same has to apply to this type of technologies. So my point of view was, let's start now to be ready with the complements before the technology comes in, and we are too late to be able to put those type of regulations.
We'll move to our next presentation.